Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. I'm 25 and pregnant. Dad remarried when I was 17. Me and her never got along. She always pushed me. She wanted me to call her mom, then got mad when I didn't. She got mad that my dad was choosing me over her because we would go out together, just me and him. She went through my text messages, got mad at me for talking to my boyfriend about my depression and how I was feeling, and not her. Tried to take the stuff that I paid for away, phone, car, etc. Tried to make me babysit her kids multiple times, even on my prom night. She tried to make me lose weight by fasting for a week straight. I'm a healthy weight, was, and still am. That has always been monitored by a doctor due to health issues then and now. Me and my dad still talk, just not as much. He wanted to meet for brunch, so I said yes, unaware that he was bringing her. When they came, we talked for a bit casually with my husband there too, until we got onto the topic of my pregnancy. She asks me all kinds of questions until she gets to names. She told me that I was going to name Amy, her daughter's name. I politely said no and said we already had a few names in mind. She started saying why I wasn't allowing her to name her grandchild and she should get that right. I told her that it's our right. That was another issue. She kept saying that I was taking away her right as a grandparent and that I've always been such a bitch to her for no reason, and she knew that I never accepted her as my mother from the beginning. But I'm a bad parent if I'm going to project that onto my kid. However, this is when I stopped everything and told her she's not allowed around my kid. She kept pushing it, saying that she always knew I was a brat, but to be this bitter to someone who only helped her is absurd. I said that she can think that all she wants, but I'm going to be naming our child whatever we decide, and that name won't be it. Then she decided to try to hit close to home by saying that I was going to be a horrible mother. I'm already not taking care of myself. I look like shit. I'm already eating too much and probably killing my baby with how much I eat. And I just keep adding to how much of a self-centered person I am by taking away her bonding with her grandchild. Whoa, that hit me hard, but I was through. Told her she's not going to be seeing my child ever. When she's born, she wanted to push her luck. Before I could say more, my husband grabbed our stuff and we left. I have gotten so many messages from so many different people in my life. Multiple people are telling me that she was wrong, but I know how she can get, but I shouldn't deny her grandbaby. Others are just saying I'm an a-hole and my father is on her side too. I honestly think I'm 100% in the right. Could be self-absorbed of me to say, but I do. But everyone else besides my husband thinks I'm a raging bitch. Am I the a-hole? Information. My dad didn't say anything. And no, this isn't tradition for my family and I haven't heard of that on her side of the family either. I'm not sure where this sprung from. Truly, I have never heard of this before. I've never been told that that's what she was planning either. Not the a-hole OP. You don't seem to be putting any blame on your father here. He stepped back and watched you get abused. From your description, that is abuse. And sat back silently while some woman tried to claim naming rights on your child, while hurling gross insults. Your father is complicit and enabling this abusive, toxic behavior. He is spineless and needs to stand up for his daughter. You don't have a stepmother problem anymore. You're an adult, and you owe her absolutely nothing. Cut her off completely. Tell your father if he doesn't grow a spine, then he'll be in the same boat, and will never see his grandkid, as you also owe him nothing. You don't need this toxicity in your life or your child's life. Now for some comments. I'm sorry, but your dad is part of the problem. Why couldn't he or can't he stand up for his daughter? This is a frightening level of intrusion and entitlement. Who forces someone to love or respect them? It is earned, not commanded. If you have to command or demand love from someone, you are not loved for obvious reasons. You know how she can get, so you must let her get away with her toxic behavior. Must be one of the dumbest takes in existence. It makes me think of the don't rock the boat post. If she is known as a problematic person, shouldn't that be enough of a reason to stay and keep children away from her? Not the a-hole OP. She pushed your limits and kept doubling down until you put your foot down. As you should. Her enablers, your dad included, because who lets anyone treat their kids like that? Can deal with her if they want. You don't have to. Not the a-hole. You need to invite your father to your home on his own and lay it down hard. You will not accept such talk from her. This isn't her grandchild, and if he wants access to his grandchild, he better buck up. To sit there as she insulted you to your face and said such horrible things shows where he has his priorities. Tell him if he ever wants to see his grandchildren, he had better start calling her on her bullshit, or both of them can get none. Because honestly, you don't need her toxicity in your life, and you don't need your father's enabling of her either. Story 2. So 9 years ago, my first husband and dad to my daughter died of cancer. My daughter was 4.5 years old at the time. First husband's family has always been difficult. They had a strained relationship with him and made his death difficult. Refused to accept his decision to end chemo, tried to take his life insurance money from me. Despite that, I've always encouraged my daughter to have a relationship with them, and through that have been relatively close and friendly with one sister-in-law and my mother-in-law. The pain and benefit of losing someone slowly is you can talk to them about what they want to happen after they die. My first husband wanted my daughter and I to move forward and find a new version of family. 5 years ago, I met the man who became my current husband, and we have now been married 2.5 years. Not long after we started dating, my daughter told him, "My daddy would have liked you," and that was the only seal of approval I needed to get remarried. We chose not to invite my first husband's family to our wedding because it would have been difficult and unusual to bring grief into that day. We all still remained close to my first husband's family, and it was never mentioned by them or raised as an issue by them. My new husband doesn't seek to replace my daughter's dad and happily embraces his memory and him being a presence in our family. New husband has now been fulfilling a parent role in my daughter's life for as long as her dad. They are close, they love each other, and we are family. My sister-in-law is getting married soon. Wonderful news, and very happy for her. She has been talking to both my new husband and I about the plans over the last couple of months. Dress choices, venue, etc. It's a small wedding, and my daughter has been invited to be a part of the wedding party. Lovely, great. So here's the issue. Only I am invited. My new husband isn't. We have been told the wedding is only for immediate family and a small number of friends. I can't understand this. Nor can my daughter, whose response is, "But he is my family." If it was just my daughter invited, I would have understood and been completely happy. This would have been exactly the same as the approach as I took with my wedding. My daughter is nearly 14. It's a daytime wedding, perfectly fine for her to be there by herself. But me and not him? In my mind, this puts my daughter in an awful position, disrespects our version of family, and disrespects the man who has gladly and willingly stepped up to be a part of her life. There is another sister-in-law and her husband is invited. This says to my daughter, "That family is better, your family doesn't count." I don't want to create drama, but I can't support a version of the immediate family that doesn't include my new husband. I feel like it should be either both of us or neither of us invited. My thinking is I go back to the sister-in-law and say thanks for inviting us, but only my daughter will be attending. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I live in a part of the world with no COVID, and there haven't been any restrictions for many, many months. The pandemic isn't part of it. OP, you didn't extend the invitation to your wedding. You can't be offended that now your husband isn't being invited. I really don't see how it puts you in a bad position. You and your daughter can go to the wedding together. Why does your husband have to be there? I don't see how what they did is saying, "This family is better," but not inviting them to your wedding isn't doing the same thing. It just seems hypocritical. You excluded your daughter's family and made it a point to separate your new family from your old family. Why is the separation now an issue? I think you should stop making this out to be something it's not. Either go to the wedding with your daughter or politely decline. Now for some comments. No a-holes here, but be careful. Their wedding is not about you. Seeing your husband there might be painful in ways seeing you and your daughter isn't. He may not be trying to replace their dead brother or son, but in a way he is. They might look at him dancing with your daughter and think, that should be Joe. That said, you aren't obligated to go. But if you bow out kindly and never bring up that it's because of your husband. You're the a-hole, but only because of double standards. It's okay for you not to invite them because it would be awkward, but they can't do the same. Don't be silly. Either don't go and strain your daughter's relationship with her father's family more, or grow up. You don't need the person who replaced their brother at their wedding. To be clear, I know he didn't replace your late husband, but that might be how they feel. OP, I don't think you would be the a-hole for declining the invitation if your reason for doing so was different. I don't want to go because I don't want to bring grief into their happy day either. And I feel like without my new husband there, I'll just feel on my own and thinking about the husband I lost. Totally valid. I'm offended that they would choose not to invite my new husband, even though I chose not to invite them to my wedding for almost certainly the same reason they didn't invite him. They don't respect my new family, so I'm not going. Not cool. Also not sure why people are saying you need to be there to look after your daughter. She's 14. She doesn't need a babysitter. Nothing wrong with you declining the invite, but your reasoning is very hypocritical. Story 3. One of my best mates, who is the only one that is married, asked if I and a couple others wanted to go on a trip together. We have a small friend group of 5 people and we haven't done much together recently as life has gotten in the way. His wife got to looking and found a place for us to stay. He, of course, had to include his wife on the trip. Nice gal, I guess. Just kind of wanted it to be a mate's trip only. It's fine and we all are used to it by now as they got married around 10 years ago. It's been that way ever since. She found a cheap price and rented it. They figured out what it was per person and gave us the numbers on what we would be paying per person. Well, I did the math, and they didn't include splitting the price 6 ways. They did it 5 ways. They did not include his wife in splitting it. I called it out immediately and said I'm not paying another person's share, so that they might not pay twice. No one else really commented on it, but I wasn't having it. I felt it was unfair. My mate said he shouldn't have to include his wife in the price, especially since they found and booked the place. I said either she pays or doesn't go. He ended up telling me, no, now you're not going, and if any of you agree, you won't be going either. I'll just go with my wife, or something along those lines. A whole argument followed. It caused a huge rift. I still think I was in the right, and I don't understand how he doesn't see it that way. Seriously, is she not another guest? Why would she not have to pay a spot too? Am I the a-hole for telling him she should have been included in the price? Update. My mate and I fixed it. All good. He had already paid for the better room by putting down more of the deposit and not putting that in the total price. I was a wanker and he was a bit of one too. Also, I want to add to this because people are leaving unfair judgments about my mate's relationship, which is my own fault for how I went about this. It was their trip from jump, not a lad's trip, and was never meant to be one. I was an ass, end of. Now for some comments. Imagine getting invited to another couple's vacation and then making a huge stink about it and trying to uninvite the wife. You're the a-hole. In your edit, you seem to displace blame on your friend. This is 10,000% your fault, and I would not be surprised if you're never invited to any future gatherings. Don't blame others. All on you. Not the a-hole. Depends on the place, but if it's a hotel, then yes, you pay by room. But if they rented out a whole apartment or cabin, you pay by night, which needs to be split evenly 6 ways, not 5. I think you probably flew off the handle faster than you should have because you were resentful at the fact that your friend's wife always tags along, and then your friend got defensive immediately since he felt that it was an attack on his spouse. Glad you worked it out. Communication is the key. Glad it all worked out. Next time, try to keep a calm head and gather all the details first. You can always rage on a situation later. Yeah, he should have told you, but your knee-jerk reaction might have almost cost you a friendship. You've known this guy for a long time. Keep a calm head. Don't risk that long relationship over trivial things, especially if there is a chance you might be missing some information on the situation.